Hello, it's Tommy Sandhu here. This is the Tommy Sandhu podcast, and we have got our chat coming your way with Anurag Rao. Anurag is a A&R artist. That's how I first heard about him. He worked for MTV back in the day. This man's really all about the independent music scene, which sounds like it's all niche and stuff, but it's not, because he works with Farhan Akhtar and he does some mainstream stuff, and it's all about, he wants to kind of help artists and develop people, and they've got a different approach to that mass mainstream Bollywood way, or the kind of grungy independent Indian independent scene in India. So he's got a unique kind of mix of those two worlds, Bollywood and independent scene, and he kind of brings it all together. He's got loads to say, and I just thought, I want to know what's going on in the country. I want to know what's happening in the music scene, where the next steps are, what's happened so far. Where do we fit in as British Asians or American Asians or Australian Asians? How does it all come together? Because we all love the music from India and the scene that's over there. Plus it's lockdown, plus there's all sorts of stuff going on in life, and it was only good that I get his opinion on it all. This is the brilliant Anurag Rao. What's up? What's up? What's up? We are officially rolling and live on the podcast with Anurag Rao. Anurag, how's it going, man?
Well, it can't be better, Tommy.
Why? Why can't it be better? Why have you peaked already?
Yeah, well, because after like 1.5 years of the pandemic, Mumbai is pretty much back to normal, and there's like a lot of noise outside on the streets, which I was missing for a long time. So things are going fine right now.
Was that the weirdest thing when it all went all quiet? Because one thing we know about India, even like when we used to go back to the Pind and go back to Punjab as kids, it's noisy. And compared to Mumbai, that's not that noisy. But is that the thing that stands out? Like, oh, listen to how quiet it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's been, you know how it's been across the world, right? So, and especially in a city like this, it's buzzing, it's heaving all the time, and then suddenly there's like this lull, and you open the windows, there's no one around, there's no noise, and I actually miss that noise. That's the city life that I miss, and it's pretty much back to normal, even though it shouldn't be as normal, but things are getting back in shape, and things are rolling out good in the city.
Why shouldn't it be normal, Anurag? You said it shouldn't be normal. We're not ready to be normal. Why not? What's your take on it?
Well, I'll just give you a specific example from my city. I mean, there's like no mask, no entry, but you'll find people with mask lowered. There's the festive season that's coming up. There's been a lot of festivities around in the last few months. People don't like listen to the rules. They're not abiding by the rules. So it is actually scary. But at the same time, you're in this revenge mode to go out there, do your stuff, and feel normal. So that's the reason why I said it's not as normal as it should be.
Right.
And that's purely because of the people and the way they react out here, right? So.
Okay, so I find all this fascinating. There's loads to discuss about this because, and I'm going to quickly tangent off on this one before we get into you and talking about life and stuff. But I like this, by the way. I like the podcast to be kind of a chat about whatever's going on right now in our world. It doesn't have to be like, we don't have to do a backstory of Anurag's whole career, but it's nice to know these are the pressing issues. Anurag is looking out the side of his window. He's seeing people with masks around their chin, around their top lips and all that. And you're going, what are you doing? But so what's funny is over here in the UK, we're now at a stage where even if they try to do another lockdown, I don't think people would buy it. People are done. So you're right. So we've got like a 50-50, probably maybe a little bit different from that stat, 50-50 of those that follow the rules, wear the masks, and those that go, I'm done with the masks. I don't even care if the masks work or don't work. There's loads of stats going around about how masks aren't as effective as people think. And numbers are still going down. Numbers would have gone down anywhere. Do you not think there's too much information? How do you make a decision?
Yeah. I mean, I'm glad that a lot of people are double vaxxed out here now. And I mean, unlike many other countries where people are revolting against vaccinations, at least we're still, a little more progressive that way.
Yeah.
So I'm guessing it's the same in the UK. I mean, and that's why it makes sense to be feeling normal with people who are normal and are willing to take those vaccinations.
Yeah. And you're in the people business. You're in the music business, the fan business. All of that's got taken away. I think it's hard. And I know obviously you work with Farhan Akhtar and people like that. They must have felt it in their own way because they're not mixing with fans. But then I kind of imagine a sort of a star like that will probably quite enjoy the downtime, kind of go, oh, this is great. You know, I get to not have to work at 100 miles an hour. But how did you find losing the interaction of people?
I think this whole virtual meet and chat rooms and Zoom and Google Meets. I mean, for a while it was pretty fancy and interesting, and you could just do whatever you want sitting at home and just eat food, uh, do whatever you want, kids, dogs hanging out, and then you still do that work, and it was pretty interesting. Just living a normal life like you do at home and working as well. But I think what happened is it just slows you down. And for me, I mean, I've run my own business for over like 13 years before I sold it, and I can't operate like that. So I need that energy, I need that face time. And I actually come from back in the day, those days where you would sit at a label, you would sit in a studio, you would like A&R artists, and spend most of your time and life listening to music in a studio. And it's just not the same when you listen to it on a Zoom call,
No.
right? So I mean, that's what was missing, and now it's back in action. So it's good. It's
It,
good. Yeah.
it kind of, you just made me think there. You think of all the songs that won't have got the light of day because they just fell in that gap. It's a bit like when I hear about students and I'm like, oh, who are due to go off to university and have the whole crazy, wild university experience. And they did that during lockdown. I'm like, oh man, you got robbed. You got robbed of the party experience, the shots, the falling over, the after party, the kebabs on the way home. Like, that's gone. There's going to be music that will never see the light of day because of COVID.
You're right. You're right. But actually, the flip side is a lot of that music is coming out through major services and distributors, and the spike in numbers, if whether it's listenership or viewership on OTT services and streaming services, it's just gone up by like 35% in the last 1.5 years. So that actually gives an artist more scope and widening the scope of just putting out more music,
Yeah.
and to stop worrying about how it's going to get marketed on ground, what's the next gig I need to do, while I can just do an unplugged version sitting at home with my fans. So I
Yeah.
think it's kind of opened up many more avenues on the tech side for many players to come on board and harness that situation, and for
Yeah.
artists to adapt to what's happening on the technology side during this time. So it's been a great learning curve for a lot of artists and people like me.
And actually, on that note, I'd say, we almost got to do a little salute to technology. Technology is really kind of, I don't know whether it was always there, whether the conspiracy theorists are to be believed that all of this has just been constructed to boost certain technologies or certain industries. But the fact is, we can do the Zoom calls, we can do the Skype calls or whatever, house party and all these other things that are going around. But on top of that, people are learning to, like, look at this. This is all being filmed online, recorded right now. It's going to be uploaded. We've got our little mini studio set up. We've got logos in the screen. It's amazing. Tech's really stepped up. Is there enough good tech out there that someone can record their vocals and put some beats together, via phones, iPads, laptops, Google Chromebooks, and things like that?
Yeah, I think that already existed almost 5-6 years back. I mean, since over a decade. And most of the artists, I mean, around the globe have been making music on their laptop sitting at home or in the bus or in the car, just while traveling. And I mean, you'd find a lot of the big hits in the top 40s just probably have been made at home. I mean, look at Billie Eilish. I mean, she just sat at home and made the biggest records.
Yeah.
And I mean, likewise here, there's Nuclear and Pratik Kuhad and a bunch of new age artists on the independent side who are actually just killing it, just sitting at home, and,
Yeah.
and their fans are loving it because see, this is the fan moment where the intimacy with the artist sitting at home never happened. So I think it was a great time for fans to connect with artists with no makeup on, with like no studio equipment, just candid moments which people actually enjoy watching. And the only way they would see it would be a one-off time on Instagram or on Facebook. But when an artist is actually revealing his life to you, it's a day in the life of the artist that becomes a gig, and that's what fans love. So
So,
it's actually been a great time for a lot of artists who've been able to harness this time and make use of this time.
see, that's interesting because really what we're saying then is COVID is artist friendly. It's not pop act. It's not manufactured artist friendly, because like you say, those who have an art have just gone back to their homes. My art is talking, right? I love talking. I love hearing stories. I love hearing your story. So now I'm like, well, I can carry on doing this in this scenario, and I will carry on. But if you need an audience, it's not going to happen. If you need a big shiny studio, it's not going to happen. Whereas you're saying the names you're saying, Pratik Kohad and Nuclear, those are people that enjoy their craft, and they've gone. It's cool. It don't matter whether I've got 1 million people or 2 people. I'm going to just make.
And Tommy, you're actually absolutely right about the skill set. I mean, a lot of pop artists are just getting produced, but they might not be the best live musicians.
Yeah.
And hence, when they come online, they could get trolled because they're not enjoying that sound the way it should be, and they're not able to replicate that sound in an acoustic version because they're probably not the best live artists.
Yeah.
And actually, it's just not about music. In fact, in the last 1.5 years, I've kind of moved on to Twitch and other gaming platforms where there's a lot of music happening. There's a lot of sport happening, and that kind of intrigued me a lot. In fact, more than Instagram, I would probably spend more time on Twitch and on Discord, which obviously my kids use that, and now I'm like so into it that I find a lot of interesting content pieces there which I wouldn't find otherwise.
See,
right?
And again, why? Because those people are doing it from the heart. I think it's changed the kind of the mindset towards what are you putting out there? What's it all about? It's almost like it's been a little check back to kind of go, because if you just want the likes and the followers and the big sound and the whatever, the overproduced sound or whatever it might be, then that's one thing. But you're not going to get that with COVID. You're going to have to take it back to the craft. And I think that's actually now I'm going full circle. I'm thinking actually all that time I'm saying, oh, think of all the songs that didn't see the light of day because of COVID. If anything, I feel like there's a massive backlog then. It's all just building up. This creative independence noise. Is the pipe going to burst in a minute? We're going to go, oh my God, we've got 10,000 new independent artists on the scene now because they're all just backed up.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, a lot of people and artists who would look for decent record deals or distribution deals, they have the access to just put their songs out now through certain services, and it's like it just reaches the whole world at the same time, just like any major artist would.
Yeah.
And I think what this time has done is it's actually also made a lot of service providers realize how to playlist this kind of content that's coming during this phase, and how intrusive can you make this content with certain artists who are just like popping out.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
What's taking up your time now? Are you A&Ring all the time? Are you looking at new music acts? Are you just working with Farhan and his team? What's your daily world?
Let me just rewind a bit. I was running Canvas Talent, which was one of the most successful, I'd like to say successful management booking services. I think in the last 7 years, we kind of converted that ideology to an agency format, which is more on the creative side with artists and not just brokering deals. Like, typically management out here means brokering. It's not like the West. It's just a booking agent, and the booking agent only books talent for gigs. Yeah. But the way I see it is, and I mean, spending the last 2 decades and over in the music business across broadcast and live and entertainment, my experience and what I've kind of learned has actually helped artists develop. So there's like this A&R talent development skill, which actually used to only reside at a label level, and now that's not there anymore. So and I'm a guy who goes with my gut. I'm not the algorithmic guy where there's numbers that are going to make me feel like this song's going to break out. For me, it's the understanding of the music, the atmospherics with it, the way it's produced, the songwriting, the artist himself, and that's what made me move into this this dynamic of developing an act, which I think back in the day no one was doing. Very few people had that skill, and it actually helps being a musician when you do that. So that really helped, because a lot of artists who we picked up and we helped were only on board because they knew I was a musician, and I kind of connect there. So it became an agency format between creative people who can develop and the artist who's creative himself.
Yeah.
that's the communication that needs to then prosper into a business model.
But you don't need to do that. You don't need to care about and develop your artists. I think so many times, and I had this in radio in so many ways. You come on board and people go, "Well, you're the hot new thing. What are you about? Go do your thing." And therefore, you're susceptible to making mistakes, making silly mistakes.
I know,
And
man,
unless you're,
but I'm a sucker for music. I'm a sucker for people who make great music, because for me, the stuff they write are experiences of their lives, and somewhere down there, if it just connects with me in a certain way, I tend to care for that music and then the person.
yeah. But
So
I'm saying nobody else is doing that. It's that Jerry Maguire approach. Do you ever seen, when he kind of goes, no,
yeah.
we need to give our clients more. We need to kind of, it's not just about the deal and the booking. It's the nurturing, it's the protecting. I genuinely believe it's the reason why we hear about so many famous people, whatever industry they might be in, losing their mind or drink drugs, because it's all on them. But if you felt backed up as an artist with canvas management, your label management, whoever they might be, who are going, no, it's cool. They're there for me, not only with the financial side, with my mindset and well-being, with my creativity, with my career path. If you've got that team, that's everything. And so you say you did that, but now you don't do that so much.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, in this part of the world, you could only do that for a particular period in time where it kind of takes a toll on you, on your life, where at some point artists feel that you need them more than they need you.
Yeah.
And that wasn't the case with me, and I was very, very clear about it, that if I'm going to pick you up as talent, this is the only time you're going to get, so make the most out of me. And this is my experience in the business, and hence you come to me. And I mean, if you look at most of the Bollywood stars, they thought I could make them like singers and rock stars. And so I worked with Pariniti. We signed up Ayushman. We created identities for Farhan and Ayushman, which, back in the day, no one thought of creating logos. Farhan Live was the first electric logo pick with the F Thunderbolt, and it went into merchandising, and it was just like any rock merchandise, rock artist merchandise. So those kind of things, it intrigued audiences. We had like T-shirts and guitar picks and stuff merchandise just being thrown away into colleges, and that's the audience. That's the audience you want to capture. And then there's this other set of artists who are in it for the money. Yes, every artist is, but they don't care where they play, who they play for, and that's not my vibe.
No.
So yeah.
You're very much about the artist. You can tell that you're very much about artists having something to say. I think you're someone who's got something to say for yourself, which is why we wanted to have you on, almost like the manager behind the artist, or working alongside them. But do you look at the West for trends, the next step, or do you like that? No, India's its own thing. South Asia's its own scene. Or no, Tommy, the world is now not West and East; it's global. I don't know, like what. Even with podcasts, I look at the West and I'm looking at America and I'm going, right, we know podcasts are huge out in the States and North America. It's really taken over the UK and Europe now. It's become a big part of the way people listen. People put it on in the car. It's like podcasts and radio, I'd say it's probably 50-50. People are listening on their commute now that people are going back to work as well. So I know actually podcasts aren't flying all across India right now. It's not woven in, but it's like, this is an exciting time to be bringing podcasts to India. So I'm following a trend in a way, but a trend that may not be relevant. Do you do the same with music?
I think I do the same across the board with many things, whether it's sport, technology, music, creative art, CSR initiatives. And that's why I kind of look out to the West, and I've always had this belief. I've spent a lot of time in the West as well, in the US, during my stint at MTV and even before that. There is a clear indication. At one point it was, whatever the West does, we're going to do that in the next 4 or 5 years, and it was bound to happen. Yeah. In certain cases, we were. When you look at the music business with the T Series and the Tips and the majors, they were so dominating that they never believed in the concept of singles until almost a decade back. Right, and they were so dominating with the telcos out here that India actually never experienced Napster. They never experienced the first billion on the internet out here. Only experienced ringback tone. So there was no experience of a full length track at all.
No.
Because when you buy your SIM card, you get an option to have a ringback tone, which was actually quite progressive back in the day, which no one else did in any part of the world, and India actually did that for the first time. But it actually took away from the beauty of listening to a full track.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
so that's what happened. I mean, back in the day. But yeah, I mean, I look out to the west because I know, but that time frame has reduced now. It's no more 4 years and 5 years. I mean, you'll see a lot of these unicorn companies out here who are building infrastructure, building technology uh, within the new guidelines around technological advancements by the government. And it might not specifically be in the music field, but it's in the tech space. And I believe that the lines have been blurring over the years, whether it's tech music, sport music, food travel music, banking and music. I mean, the lines are blurring there, right?
Yeah.
And my motive there is to enter that gap and reach out to the right brands and the right industries, because you can't do without music. Your 90% of your advertising, I'd say 95% of your advertising out here is skewed with music, whether it's a jingle, whether it's a sonic tune, whether it's IPL and an anthem coming out, whether it's Super Bowl. There's music everywhere. And now, with the world being so predictive with technology, I can create a playlist with Zomato, where I know what your likes and dislikes and tastes are, and I could drop a playlist that kind of fits your food interests.
Yeah. So it's like I say, it's breaking down within subdivisions. Like you say, there's not just the streaming. There's subdivision. So is this an exciting time? Are you there in India thinking, oh man, it's happening right now more so than ever? I wish it was like this 10 years ago. What's the scene? And particularly because it's you, I have to say this, and I'm sorry to say this. Well, what is the independent scene like? Because I've been hearing about the emergence of the independent scene in India probably for about 10 years now, right? Where you're like, no, there's more independent artists, and no, everything isn't just Bollywood. And even with the styles of film that are being made, it's not just typical mass Indian cinema, and everything's fragmenting. It's nice. It's nice to see that break off and offshoots, and where people can find the niches. Podcasts are niches, so I love a niche. Find your niche, wherever it might be. So is this an exciting time for that evolution, or is this a tricky time?
Actually, it is the best time ever since the last few years. I would say in the last 5 6 years, or even longer. Because I mean,
Why?
back in the day when I started off in the industry, I was selling cassettes on the street,
Yeah.
and
Were
there
you
was
good?
this.
Were you a good seller on the street? Did you have the chat? Were you a light, or was it just let the music do the talking?
Well, I used to come back from college, and I would find this roadside stall with a guy who would be selling regional music, and he would have a few cassettes of Bon Jovi, AC/DC, UB40, and I'm like, what do you do with these international uh, albums? He's like, none of them sell. So I said, maybe I can help you. So I started making mixtapes with Hindi and English for him. And back in the day when piracy was damn cool to do.
Yeah.
So I would sit in the shop for a few hours, and it was a tiny little shop on the street. And as you're aware, the municipality and the laws are that you can't have street shops on certain days. So they used to come and remove the shops. So at times the shop never used to be there for me to go and do stuff.
Right.
And so at that point, I mean, from selling cassettes on the street, then going to a record store to sell CDs, and then having in-store appearances with artists and licensing with labels, it was quite a shift for me. And that was the real time when you would enjoy music to the fullest.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's the time where the independent music scene was a rage. And I think Bollywood just was a name at that point. Every artist who's a Bollywood singer today was at some point an independent artist and singer. You look at Sonu Nigam, Daler Mendi. I mean, look at the biggest names: Adnan Sami, Shankar Mahadevan. They've all been independent artists, and that's how they came about,
Yeah.
right? It's only when the record labels started becoming film producers, they moved into playback singing, and that's when they got tagged as playbacks Bollywood singers.
Yeah.
And now what we're seeing is
Yeah.
this whole circles repeating itself again. We've come back to the time where you're seeing this massive surge of independent music and artists and collaborations, which never happened because people back in the day were so egoistic about their music and writing. Like, I'm not going to share my music with anyone to write. I don't want a co-writer. I don't want people to sit on my production. It's me who decides. And then there was a record label head sitting there saying, you know what? I think there should be another 4 bars of dhol in this. So, I mean, I've kind of seen all this happen, and
Yeah.
today you're actually seeing the same thing in a very different environment, where the creativity is with the artist, the power to express is with the artist, the power to communicate, and the power to to network with other artists around the globe has become so easy that
Yeah.
you are seeing this new wave of independent talent who's
Yeah, and identity is everything to independent artists. You know, creating their identity, but it's hard because it's like a comedian. I'm a stand-up, but a lot of stand-ups will say, "Oh, I don't care what the audience think. I'm going to do my thing." But come on, deep down, of course you care what the audience think. You enter this business because you want to be loved. We all just want to be loved, Anurag. You just want to be loved. I'm here loving you, by the way. There's a lot of love. Okay,
love you too, Tommy.
Thanks, man. But what?
Always.
But
Always. Big fan.
it's hard.
Big
Yeah.
fan. And congrats on all the stuff that you've done in the past. I mean, amazing.
Bless you. But again, you know, we are our own force. You have something inside you that says, I've got to do this. But I want to be cheeky. I want to be funny. I want to be entertaining. But I've also got to think about my audience and what's going to be consumed and the channels that are going to use me. How does an independent artist do that, Anurag? You're in the game. How do you stay true to you? How do you do that balance? How does one do that balance of truth to themselves and their own desires and dreams versus fitting in and just making it sell?
I think there are a couple of factors, and I honestly believe if you're writing great music, you'll have an audience that's always going to stick with you. It might not be the biggest audience, but they will actually subscribe to you. They will pay you. They will even virtually gift you eventually, and you've got to acknowledge that with them and build that further. And it's very easy now for an independent artist to go out there, but at the same time, I'm a person who believes in luck. You also have to be really lucky. And
See, can I chip in there? A lot of people are afraid to say that because they say, no, because we need to know a plan. Hard work is it all. And people say to me, how did you get to TV presenting? I was like, it was luck. There's nothing I've done. It's timing, and I happened to be there. And he then said they need someone for this. But there's no plan on that. It's luck, fate, kismet, karma, whatever.
It is. And I mean, you can be working so hard every year, and one fine day, maybe after 8 years, I mean, just like Coldplay, you just get lucky. And for me, I just feel the biggest artist out here who's had luck on his side has been A.R. Rahman.
Oh, you can't say that. You can't say that.
Man, I am telling you, I mean, since the time I have heard his music in the early 90s.
Yeah.
I mean, not that, I mean, he's a great producer, undoubtedly. And that's what I'm saying. Your music has to be great, number one.
Right. So
but
he's
to have those back-to-back hit albums and to have every producer and director knock at your door, it's luck as well.
Yeah. It's timing and luck.
Timing, and I think he's such a progressive producer that, I mean, that's where you're saying the West, right? He was way ahead in time. His production values were all from the West. He was using gear from the West.
But I suppose the point you're making is there are potentially other A.R. Rahmans who didn't have the luck, who are sitting in a studio or somewhere trying to go, I could have made that song. I could have made Urvasi, whatever. I had a similar hook or whatever they might be saying. But so, see, I think therefore, God, I've got so much to say. God loves a trier is the phrase that they say in England. Oh, God loves a trier. You got to try. I think unless you try, you don't know whether that lady luck is running alongside you. You don't know, but you got to try. You got to make the music, but then, really, what we're saying on the rug, as you as someone who's worked in management in A&R, you're like, hey, you can give it a go. Whether you're going to make it or not, it's not in your control. Is that what you're saying?
Well, if you give it your best, without having too many expectations, and luck favors you at some point, you're gonna make it big.
So
But
do you think if you just
you can't give up. You just can't give up. You've got to enjoy what you do. So
right,
when I pick up the guitar and I play, I can just I just play for hours without having any expectations. But if I get a gig to play on with Farhan, I feel lucky.
yeah,
Like, well, let's go play,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
But that doesn't make me feel I shouldn't practice hard. I shouldn't play my music.
no.
And the same thing goes for any artist.
So have you got to be selfish deep down? In a way, you got to go, look, I'm going to do me. I'm going to do what I need to do, want to do. Yeah, okay, there's some practical sides. You got to pay the bills and you got to do stuff like that. But I think you got to stay true to you. I think that's when people say about being true. I think this is exactly it. Independent artists are truth because they're their own truth, or they're on a path of their own truth, whatever that may be in the different forms it is in your life. But I think that's why you can't be anybody else. You shouldn't try and be anybody else because that's not your path. It doesn't make any sense. I mean, can you kind of see that with independence?
I mean, you're right. I mean, there are a lot of people who just feel I'm going to be in the top 40s or top 20s out here if I ape some other artist and I pick up the production values from another song and just rewrite my own stuff. It doesn't work like that. It could, if you're lucky again, but it might just flop because everyone's smart enough now, and the new millennials and Gen Zs are actually listening to music. They are hearing the lyrics. They know what it means and how it's connecting with them. That wouldn't happen 10 years back. They would just enjoy music, and back in the day it was about going for a live concert and then buying that CD and marking the track and then passing it on to your friends, and we're all going for this gig. It's not that anymore. It's a great time for artists to just have their music being shared across the world with they don't know who.
No.
Right.
And what about you as an artist? So you as someone in the scene, how do you what's your time away from it all, or where is there a time away from it all? Because it sounds like you just enjoy what you do, so you don't need to get away from it's not like, oh, I'm not going to touch the guitar for a week to give myself a break. No, that's your work, your enjoyment, and it's part of your scene. So do you physically create a little escape for yourself, or you go somewhere else or get away from it all?
I do. I love getting away. I actually love meeting people, and I love doing work while meeting people. So unfortunately, this time didn't allow me to do all that. But for me, doing business and meeting people in a creative world excites me.
Yeah.
So I've been looking at artists who are able to spend that face time with me, who are looking to set up new business models with me, and that's the creativity that I like to get involved with, and that gives me a great high.
Yeah.
So for me, it's work, it's business, but at the back of that business, there has to be some creative element. There has to be an experience with that artist. There has to be an experience with the brand that you're working with. How do you actually take a brand's philosophy and ideology and fit that with the right talent and songwriting, and then how does that go further into the world?
See, people like you amaze me. You wow me because I suppose you've got a whole set of skills that I don't have, and I don't look through lenses wise that I don't use, I suppose, because I look at someone like you and I think, you're going to hear an artist or a song and you're going to already know, a new idea comes, you're putting together a structure and a plan on how this can integrate with the way of the world right now. There's a visionariness, if that is a word, to your visions, because that's the way you kind of people are, Anurag. But where do you get that from? How can you be so sure? How can you have that clarity? Because I know for a fact you don't know what's lying around the corner. Nobody can. So why are you so bloody sure, Anurag Rao?
Because I feel my gut, Tommy, and I come from the days where radio was the biggest thing. For me, YouTube didn't matter at all. I mean, I would tell half the people on panels, like, why don't you mute TV and watch that song? Or why don't you mute YouTube and look at that video? Are you still going to have the same feeling of that song? And it's not going to be there. So for me, the sound and the audio part always played a very important role. And if you've got a great song, everything you attach with it becomes amazing.
Yeah.
So that's the gut. The second thing is I think I've spent enough time, and it's still less though, because the dynamics of the business are evolving every year today, every 6 months, so technology shifts. But if you've got that experience that comes with, from the time you were selling cassettes to listening to ghazals, classical music. My father was a Ravi Shankar disciple. I used to go to the Alaraka school to learn tabla for
Right.
8 years with my brother. So
Yeah.
I've kind of been through every concert, whether it's been a rock show, whether it was like Pink Floyd coming out there, or Michael Jackson and Bon Jovi back in the day, or Deep Purple, to Pandit Hariprasad Chaurasia, to Rajan Sajan Mishra, to, I mean, across various genres of music,
Of course. Yeah.
right? And when you're going through that phase in life, and I would say I was lucky that I had parents who were musicians. My father was a musician, my brother was a musician, and that actually gave me all the scope to go and experience these kind of genres of music, and pick up that cassette and tape and CD and listen to it time and again. And when you have that experience over time with various genres of music, with you know listening to multiple artists, whether it's you passively listening to it or actively listening to it, it actually forms the base for you as a musician or as a creative person, or as someone who wants to do something in the music field. And
Yeah.
that experience is what comes out over time. So when you share your experiences and the know-how and the way you've seen the music industry evolve, the way you've seen production evolve, the way you've seen artists evolve from bands to solo artists, you have something more than the other person,
No, I agree.
and you have your gut, right? So
Yeah.
I mean, that's what I feel about myself.
It's
uh,
funny.
yeah.
Yeah. Because you realize we're just so susceptible to these external influences. So you going to those doubler classes, you being around those musicians, shaped you and evolved you. Was it already in you, nature and nurture, all those things? But now, I think you are it. You. To me, you feel like you are in touch with what's going on around you. I think you're a sensitive probably guy as well with that, because you have to be. You've got to tune in to read situations and things like that. But what comes with, I think, that sensitivity is sometimes, an oversensitivity. How do you protect yourself in that? Because you've got to be an open book. You've got to have the time for the people. There's a lot of people in India. I don't know if you've counted recently. There's quite a few. And, everybody's got an idea and everybody's got a dream and everybody's got a hope. And Anurag, what about this? And Anurag, what about that? Like, how do
You're right.
you protect yourself?
You're right. You're absolutely right. I mean, I get hit by like 10,000, I mean, 100 ideas every time I meet a couple of artists. But I think the experience has made me realize that, out of your 10, 15 ideas that you're dropping at me, I know for a fact that only one might work. Take it or leave it. And if you want to work with that one idea that I feel is going to work, then I'm on. Because
Yeah.
I'm not going to be able to sell the other ideas. It's probably not the right time. It's probably not the right content. And it's probably not what you think it is going to be.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's
Again,
how yeah.
you've already worked that out. That's
Yeah.
what I find is so incredible, because it's like the matrix of algorithm. Oh, you say no algorithms, but like your own internal Anuraganism. I don't know. Trying to find algorithm and
Anurag
Anuragism.
or Anuragisms.
Yeah, it's hard. I feel drunk as I'm saying it. Anuragism. But it's that, because you quickly go, no, not
Yeah.
now. Yes.
No, I mean, that's exactly how it is. You're right. You're right. I mean, you've got it in your head. You're right about it. You have your own intel that tells you through various experiences, various mistakes you've made, various success stories that you've captured in your life, that immediately makes you, say that, hey, this is not going to work. I've done it. And I can tell you right now that it's not going to work. So
yeah. And that's just a gut instinct as well. You can just feel it. Going to go, look, it's not there. So, okay, just if I can pick your brains a little bit,
yeah.
Where's it going? What's going on in the scene? Where are we going to be musically or independently, or even India as a scene? Because don't forget, here is a British Asian, and I'm sure there are Canadian Asians or North American Asians listening, or Australian Desis and all that. They're all listening. And when they do, we are still very much connected to our motherland. I am seen when I go for job TV stuff here. I'm the Indian. Tommy, he's the Asian guy. He's the Indian guy. You know, he's the Punjabi guy. That's still very much there. But when I go to India, obviously they can just spot me a mile off and go, he's from England, you know, or not, or from somewhere from a Western country. So you don't kind of fit in anywhere. We're still rooted by our motherland. So I'm looking at the motherland. I'm going, well, what is going to happen there, Anurag? Because that's going to shape the music that your future Jay Sean's,
Yeah,
I don't know,
I mean,
whoever
talking
else.
about them, I was just on a call with Rishi last night.
Right. Okay. Right.
Yeah, I mean, I
Where's that going?
remember the whole British movement when we started MTV Emmys and brought them down, and every
Yeah.
Bollywood star wanted a piece of their music in their films. And well, he's also, I mean, releasing a lot of stuff. But just like you said, what's happening in the motherland today? I mean, if you look at it, there's like so much shit happening in the world, in India, around the world. There's like politics that's, I mean, it's bizarre what's happening. And
Yeah.
what's happening with the artists is that their emotional sides coming out now. Music's always been about emotion. The story, the lyrics, it's all about emotion. And today you're seeing a bunch of artists who are sticking together with the shit that's, I mean, with stuff that's happening around the world, which is impacting the world. And now they've started to realize that they need to write about that. They need to actively participate in that, to make noise. And it's boots on the street, right? That's what
Yeah.
works.
Yeah.
And if an artist can't do it, then who can? How do you actually take your massive following into an ideology and philosophy and drive that on the streets? That's
Right.
what music can do. So I'm seeing a lot of artists, come together, whether it's the farmers movement and the entire Punjab artist fraternity. I mean, they've stuck with their guns. They're doing stuff. They're writing stuff. They're not even engaging in, you know, uh, performances that they feel might be politically inclined, or rallies. They're just emotionally so connected with certain causes
Yeah.
that, that I've never seen this earlier. And I'm also saying that because, I mean, Farhan and me started uh, an initiative called MUD, which is Men Against Rape and Discrimination,
Yeah.
back in 2012 after the Nirbhaya incident. And what we were able to do with a bunch of NGOs, including UN Women globally, uh, I mean, you have to see it to believe it. When we went into colleges and recited the Mard poem, we had 3 to 5 thousand kids recite it with us,
Yeah.
and that's the power for the artist. So I'm seeing all that now. It's building up, and it's just going to become so huge. CSR, cause related stuff, where artists are going to play a very important role with their fans, and become more credible than ever.
Which is exciting. Which you think, again, using entertainment, using their talent to actually raise. That's the way it should always have been done. I think when you try and force feed the nation messages, it's one thing, and if you do it via music and the arts, it's funny how the arts are now so relied upon to get a message across. Comedians, look at most stand-up comedians, they're saying stuff. They're social. They're almost like social commentators on life, but they just turn it into a joke, and that's why I like stand-up, because they're like, that's the best way to. We got to laugh at all of this. None of this is real. This is all nonsense. It's all temporary. And where are you? Where are you on your take on life? Are you like, no, I'm out to just get mine? Is it a financial drive? Is it a happiness drive? Is it a contentment drive? What's behind all this? Because you're doing so much. Where's it going?
Well, I'm actually not doing much as we speak right now, because I mean,
It's a
I sold my
conversation with me.
I sold my company to Believe Music, Believe Digital from Paris. It's one of the major music distribution services globally.
So
So they acquired us.
you're just sitting back and counting the money now,
Well,
Anurag. Is
I
that
wish,
it?
man. I wish, Tommy. I wish I was so rich. But yeah, but that doesn't give me the pleasure of how it would be to interact with creative artists. It's not just
No.
about the money. I mean, the money will follow, and you actually put your heart and soul in what you love doing. And for me, what I love doing is networking with the right creative artists to build models and business models, and network them and make partnerships with the rest of the world, and other partners who can actually help their music go somewhere, help them go somewhere. So I'm pretty much like an intermediary or fixer but in the creative space. And now I've moved away from the whole booking management side. I think I enjoy doing, uh, uh, you know, I enjoy doing deals which are not too heavy to take up, and just stick with a few partners who understand what I have to offer, and and service them right, and then get the right kind of music and artists to collaborate with those ideas.
Yeah.
So and it's like a bridge between brand advertisers and broadcasters who've never seen this new paradigm shift of listenerships, but they want music artists to be a part of their brands and their products, but they don't know how to market music. So that's the gap
Yeah.
here in India, and the gap in the Middle East as well. So I'm doing a lot of projects there and here where I am actually helping brands understand how to use copyright material and content and recreate new music sound that fits with their brand's philosophy, and then further find the right talent on the other side and fans that help converge fan to consumer to fan.
Yeah.
So if you are, if you feel, I mean, music is actually the most stickiest art form, Tommy. I mean, I don't think there's anything else that's more sticky than music. You might read a book once or twice, or watch a game twice, or I mean, watch a movie maybe thrice.
Yeah.
But there's always a life. There's a soundtrack to your life, and that's not going away.
What's the song you got on repeat at the moment? What's going round and round and round and round? Because I get obsessed with certain songs, and even our older songs. Like for the moment, I don't know why. Because we went and watched it in an
Yeah,
outdoor cinema, which we went and watched the Lady Gaga film with Bradley Cooper. So we just keep
yeah,
replaying
yeah.
certain songs from that. It's just on. It's just on all the time at the moment. My boys love TikTok songs, so Out Out is on all the time, like a dance house song.
I kind of hooked onto a lot of Japanese artists like Eve and a few other artists, and I mean it's quite interesting what's happening on that side of the world too.
What is happening in the Japanese music scene
I
coming
mean,
via
it's
Anurag in India? It's mad.
for me. I think I find the language quite interesting and the production, and but, I mean I'm kind of getting intrigued towards that side of pop culture as well. I mean, there's been K-pop, and now there's like Japanese music too. But for me, actually, when I wake up, it could normally be a Bollywood song from the 90s.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, I mean it's
Nice.
funny, but it would be like a Govinda song, or or a Bachchan song, and I'm like,
Yeah.
what's going on today? You know,
Yeah.
so-
I'm an independent AR artist. Well, it's got me. Bollywood's got me.
yeah, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. Listen, it's awesome talking to you. I think we almost need regular Anurag Rao catch-ups to kind of, it feels like I can find out what's happening in the world, what's happening in music, kind of future trends, but also it's exciting for me. Like I said, I live through the motherland. You are part of the music scene in the motherland, my motherland. So it's nice to know what's happening, and it's nice to know that it's still growing and still creating at these kind of crazy times. Are you all right? Are you okay? Are you coping all right with all this stuff, with all this lockdown stuff? Are you going to get through this?
Oh yes, yes.
Good on
Where
you.
there's will, there's a way.
Yeah, and I think you're definitely full of will. That's for sure.
I will. Yeah.
That's your drive, man. It's exactly. You will find your way as well. Brilliant stuff, Anurag. Thank you so much for your time,
Thanks,
bro.
Tommy.
Cheers,
Lovely
pal.
chatting again. Bye.
Bye, mate. Hey, before you go, have you hit subscribe to the podcast yet? Have you done that? You should. Have you also started following the Tommy Sandhu podcast on social media? That's on Instagram, on Twitter, and on Facebook as well. Do it. Do it. Because then, when those annoying little notifications pop up with the random stuff that you've agreed to let into your life. Okay, delete those. Let some Tommy Sandhu joy in. I'm going to be talking to the good people. I'm going to be having some fun chats. Why not have those on a daily basis and get the notifications as well? All you got to do is hit subscribe and like and follow, and it's free. It's free. It's our favorite word. Asians love free. Say it. It's free. Oh, it feels good. Go on, do it now.